Okay, good morning. We are live and alive. Thank God. Super happy to be with you all here via the regular Call to Calm link. And also very happy to be with you all via YouTube. Hi to everybody on YouTube. Alright, I want to try and explain something to you today that's very easy to explain, but yet at the same time can sometimes be hard to understand, because I feel like we innately make it more complicated than it needs to be. So, good morning. I'll just give everyone a few more seconds to hop on the call and then we'll get into it. Good morning to everybody from all over the world. And hi to everybody on YouTube. Alright, so much to share, and I only have a small window of time to cover it in. So here's the short and tall of it. After a while, this whole human thing becomes quite boring. The more you accept yourself, the more you embrace yourself, the more you love yourself, the less you react to your humanity, and the more you stay rooted in this experience of equanimity or peace that is your natural state. I personally don't feel like being a human being was supposed to be exciting in the first place. I feel like it was supposed to be a non-event. However, because we have this culture of repression or suppression or denial, now all of a sudden things that could just be experienced or felt in the moment have become these huge things that then we have to unpack and be with over time. I don't feel like anything else in nature is suffering from being itself and having it be a big deal. So, I've tried to communicate this before, and sometimes people get it, sometimes people don't, but I would like to try and communicate it again. Awakening is like mixing and mastering a piece of music. Once you've recorded all the elements of the composition, rage, trauma, story, physicality, life experiences, life events, and you've got all the key components that never change, then you have to go in the studio and mix and master all of the components to make sure that all of the levels are in harmony with each other. Another way of looking at it is that you were this lake, and in the moment that you had an awakening, somebody came and threw a boulder in the lake. And everything that was in the lake all of a sudden began to come up to the surface, because now the lake in and of itself has been disturbed. So the whole point of all of this is to have this whole human thing become a non-event. Because I'm sure for squirrels, being squirrels is a non-event. I'm sure for cows, being cows is a non-event. I've never met a dramatic cow, have you? I've met some very enthusiastic squirrels. But I've never met one that's suffering from being itself. However, for some reason, human beings have turned this whole human thing into such a big deal. Everything's such a big deal. Emotions are a big deal. Thoughts are a big deal. What happens in the body is a big deal. What happened in the past was a big deal. What's happening now is a big deal. So we have turned something that's natural and a non-event into something that's exaggerated and pronounced. If you've ever met someone who's had an awakening, they're really quite boring. I mean, just take a moment and think of everyone that you know. Go through the greatest hits of awakening. And you tell me if you can find an exciting one among them. I can't. Hanging out with someone who's awakened is the equivalent of watching paint dry. Slowly. Very slowly. Extremely slowly. And so how come, right? How come? How come? Well, here's how come. Because the more we accept and the more we embrace, the more we bring everything related to being human into harmony, and then the less we have to react to these things, the less we resist them, the less we turn them into a big deal. So you give up the notion that who you are at the level of your humanity is going to change or be different, and you just accept and embrace the human being that you are, which allows you to open your heart to the human being that you are, which then coincidentally makes your experience of being human boring. Because where you used to get so worked up about things, so much passion about aspects of your humanity, now it's like, I think I've malfunctioned. I might be depressed. I think something inside of me has broken. I'm just walking around all neutral about everything now. No motivation, no drive, no ambition, no desire. No drama. Just peaceful. What's wrong with me? What's happened? Well, what's happened is your knowing yourself and loving yourself has freed you of the surface level friction and tension of being a human being. So now being a human being isn't a big deal. It was never supposed to be, by the way. And now it's like, oh, all of a sudden, you're neutral as it relates to you. Do you see what? Can you leave me a 1 or yes in the chat if this is beginning to make sense? You haven't malfunctioned. You haven't broken. You're not depressed. You might be. To the best of my knowledge, you're not depressed. You are now just neutral as it relates to being a human being and as it relates to life. So why this becomes an issue is you're not used to your natural state of non-reactivity. Oh, and you used to react to everything. Ooh. Everything. Emotions inside of you, the thoughts that you were thinking, what's happening in your body, what's happening at the level of your self-image, what's happening in your life, oh, you could get worked up into a fare-thee-well about everything, the good old days. Now, because you've just accepted and embraced and loved yourself, now it's just like, oh, okay, I'm currently experiencing. That's it. The same thing that would be all-consuming, that you would resist, or you'd resist to the point of constipation. You would resist. Now it's like, okay, yeah, I'm human. This is never going to change. I've just accepted the fact that I am. There's no point. There's no point trying to control this. I give up. So what's happened is that the more you have accepted and embraced being a human being, the more you are experiencing as the soul, which is your natural state. But when you first start to experience as a soul, it's like, there's something wrong with me. How many of you, be honest, how many of you have been thinking recently, there's something wrong with me? Why can't I get worked up about things? Why am I not? How come I'm not? Something's wrong? But something isn't wrong with you. This whole being a human thing wasn't supposed to be a big deal in the first place. So what allows us to become boring? And how quickly can we become boring? Boring meaning that no matter what happens in your personal experience, it just doesn't matter anymore. You're just peaceful. You're just calm. You're in harmony, right? We've mixed and mastered the track. Everything is now EQ'd out perfectly. We've accepted what the boulder has brought up from the lake to the surface. And now we can just see it and embrace it and recognize it. Oh, okay. This is just being human. What gets worse? Oh, I'm not done yet. It gets worse. All of a sudden now, you're content. I know, it's horrible. You feel complete where you are. You don't need things. You don't strive for things. You can't think of anywhere else where you would rather be other than where you are. You stop participating in life in the way that everybody else is because you've realized it just for the illusion that it is. That there's no joy in any of it. Actually, it gets even weirder. You've given up being happy because you've realized that even this illusion of happiness is a trap. You have accepted this neutrality and this equanimity so profoundly, unbeknownst to you, that actually you realize that it's not even about being happy. It's about being neutral. It's about this harmony. It's about this equanimity. Now, it can be joyful, but joy isn't the destination. Happiness isn't the destination. So, it's like you have this awakening. Someone takes the table with everything that you had on it, that you thought was who you were, thoughts, conditioning, beliefs, emotions, feelings, material accomplishments, spiritual accomplishments, and they come over and they flip the whole table over. And now all of a sudden, there's nothing on the table. Now, it's not a problem that there's nothing on the table. You're just not used to an empty table. For me personally, and maybe boring isn't the right word, I just think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny how worked up we used to get about everything, how we used to react to everything, how much time, effort, and energy we spent trying to change who we are, trying to have ourselves be different. I mean, quite honestly, it's very funny. At first it's not. At first it can make you upset, frustrated, right? But after a while it's like, this is really funny. It's really funny to see how much of a big deal I've made this whole human thing into. And now here's the funny thing. The more you recognize yourself as the soul, the less you need. The less you want to participate in things. The more you like hanging out with yourself, which is interesting because the last person most of you wanted to hang out with was you. Which is why most of you would go to all of these retreats and workshops in the first place. So you could have a break from being you. Now, you love your own company. You're at peace. You enjoy the simplicity of things. You don't really need very much of anything. You're in harmony with everything. And most importantly of all, you're neutral. See? There's harmony there, there's equanimity there. You start sounding like Yoda. You start speaking in parables. Go full Zen master on everyone. Who are you? I am nothing. What are you? I am nobody and everybody. See? Let me know when you start sounding like this. But all the while on the inside, there's just a feeling, this felt experience of neutrality that you cannot really give words to. It's impossible, right? And this is the best part. You stay there. You stay there. While everyone else is getting all worked up, goals, 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 15-year plans, 30-year plans, 100-year plans. What are you? I'm like, I don't have any plans. Any plans? Someone invites you over for lunch, you just sit there staring at them. There's nothing to talk about, really. And sometimes you may still have words. But where you used to be complicit in participating in their incompletion, now you just sit there as the embodiment of completion itself. You're not up on the news or current events. You don't know who won the Grammy. You couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to you that this Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. No. You have become wooed and enamored by the silent song of the soul. So much so that you don't want to leave it, and you wouldn't trade it in for anything. And what's wilder, this is where people think you've gone off the deep end, some of you are on medical journeys. Some of you literally have the right to be freaking out right now about everything, and you're calm. So now it's not just enough that you're living in the illusion that you've malfunctioned, Now people in your life are witnessing you go through this medical journey, this divorce, fame, fortune, success, whatever manifestation of life you're currently experiencing, and you're totally neutral in the midst of it. And when you're not, you just accept it, you embrace what's going on, and you come back to neutral. So now everyone in your life is looking at you like you're weird too. But this is the degree to which being natural is not normal. This is the degree to which being natural is not normal. And it's not apathy. It's not that you've given up. It's that there's nothing missing. Because where you are, everything is. You're not going somewhere to get something or doing something to become someone. Now you're just sitting there and life is happening all around you. And seemingly everyone's more worked up about your life than you are. And everyone's more upset about what you're going through than you are. And everyone's more reactive about your lack of reactivity. But no matter how hard you try, because now you know the truth of yourself, the truth that never changes, you can't identify with the impermanence, with the simulation, with the Maya, with that which changes. You'd much rather remain in the neutrality, in the peace. In fact, what you've discovered is that your life actually is a meditation. So you're not broken. You haven't malfunctioned. You've just returned to your natural state. And you fulfilled the prophecy that eventually everyone who has an awakening fulfills. Thou shalt be boring. There will come a time in the history of our planet where boring, uneventful, non-dramatic humans shall walk the earth, connected to the essence of who they are, their natural state. So it's a prophecy. Now, of course, you become boring to the outside world. But inside, you're in constant communion and connection with something that you have actually been wanting to experience your entire life. So in your natural state, which is neutrality, people just don't know what to do with you. You don't know what to do with you. But I can promise you this. You will get used to it. You will. You'll get used to the neutrality. You'll get used to not being in this overly reactive state as it relates to what's going on inside of you. You'll remain neutral as it relates to everything that's happening inside of you. Emotions, feelings, thoughts, what's happening in your body, etc. And you'll get to a place of neutrality as it relates to everything outside of you too. And you'll begin to find everything somewhat humorous. In fact, you'll start to laugh at yourself. You'll start to laugh at how worked up you used to get and how much you tried to change something that couldn't be changed. But God love you, boy, did you try. Every which way imaginable did you try. So, I've come here to let you know that the track has been mixed and mastered, that the boulder's been thrown into the lake, and everything that was in the lake has now risen to the surface, and you've seen it, you've accepted it, you've embraced it. You've given up the insanity of trying to change the human being that you are. And you are now just in this place of being with it all. Of being with it all. And more, every day, increasingly you can't seem to get worked up about anything. You haven't malfunctioned. You've just set yourself free. The truth does that. You haven't malfunctioned. Not at all. You've just set yourself free. So now, in your equanimity and harmony, you watch the world perfectly unfold around you. And you can't help but be in awe of how everything is unfolding, of what people are going through, of what you're going through. You can't help but be in awe of the fact that even though you're going through things, you're seemingly still neutral in the midst of going through things. You see, you can't help but be the soul. It was always your destiny to become natural again. And natural is wonderful. It's just not normal. And that's okay. So when you go through the greatest hits of awakened people, you know the list. You can add yourself to the list of boring individuals, non-reactive individuals, natural individuals, that have all discovered the truth of themselves throughout human history. After a while, this whole human thing becomes a non-event. It's just not a big deal anymore. And actually, after a while, you finally allow yourself to discover that it never was. Never needed to be. Everything could actually just be accepted, embraced, and experienced. So, there you have it. I just wanted to deliver this public service announcement to planet Earth today. And because some of you were walking around thinking that you've malfunctioned. What's wrong with me? Why am I not worked up about things? Why am I not upset about what's going on inside of myself? I'm on a medical journey and I'm calm. Everyone else is freaking out about my diagnosis more than I am. What's happened to me? Nothing. You've just come back to harmony, back to alignment, back to yourself. send you all my love. Is Laurel back? Who's doing the emojis? Peggy. Still subbing for Laurel. Stop typing Om Shanti. Heart emoji, peace emoji. Ah, love to Laurel. Day 1650. AKA Day 1. Close your eyes and breathe and relax, you beautiful, natural, boring humans. Which, by the way, is a compliment. Oh, let's do it. Good morning, sweet friends, and welcome to another Call to Calm meditation. I've come here today with a public service announcement to let you know that you haven't malfunctioned. I know some of you are walking around thinking that you have, but you really haven't. What you've discovered is that your natural state is actually neutrality. That this whole human thing really isn't that big a deal. And that now that you've sufficiently accepted who you are, the way you are, and you've given up the insanity that one day you're going to wake up and think that you're somebody other than you, now you can stop wasting all of this time, effort, and energy resisting it, trying to make sense of it, and instead just accept it, embrace it, and open your heart to it. So all in all, you've become really quite boring. You don't want to go anywhere. Don't really want to hang out with people. Can't really participate in the world in the way that you used to. Can't really get worked up about things in the way that you used to. Some of you are going through some things right now that you could very well be worked up about and be justified about being worked up about, and you can't even get worked up about the fact that you're going through something that you really should be worked up about. Seemingly, everyone else in your life is more upset about what you're going through than you are. So you haven't malfunctioned. Something innately has not broken inside of you. Actually, you're now living more from the truth of yourself, the soul, which is this equanimity and harmony, your natural state, than you are from all of this normal stuff that everyone else is experiencing. And if you ever need confirmation of this, go back through the greatest hits of awakened beings. You'll see that they were all just as boring as you. They'll experience some sense of contentment within themselves, some sense of fulfillment within themselves. They were the source of the love that they were seeking in their lives. You know, all of a sudden it's like they don't really need to go anywhere and become someone. So a natural person looks weird to normal people. But I'd rather look weird to normal people than not live in the truth of myself. Close your eyes, you beautiful weirdos. Take some long, deep, cleansing breaths. Just allow your entire physical body to relax. You're adorable. Resting in the awareness of your breath transforms your life into a living meditation. Seated where you are or lying down, we find ourselves in a recording studio. And we've just been hired to master this album that coincidentally is your name. Except in this recording studio, instead of having bass, mid-range, treble on this whole mixing board, you've got rage, depression, anxiety, thoughts, the past, trauma, abuse, story, etc., etc., etc. Everything that constitutes the habitual self. Everything that you confuse to be the truth of you. And gradually you begin to listen to the different parts of yourself, and you have your big studio monitors on, and you just start accepting and embracing all of the parts, the rage, the self-hatred, the loathing, the abuse, the trauma, the physical stuff, the life stuff, the childhood stuff. You just start accepting it all. And as you do, everything begins to reach a point of equilibrium on the mixing board. Where once rage was really loud, now rage is at a zero. The body was really loud, now the body is at a zero. The mind was really loud, now the mind is at a zero. The story was at a level 10. All you ever wanted to do was share your story with everybody. Now it's at a zero. And you begin to, as you mix and master this self-entitled album with your name on it, this piece of music that represents you with all the harmonics and frequencies that you translate into the human experience, all of a sudden, everything returns to zero. In the moment that the last audio channel returns to zero, you begin to feel an equanimity, a harmony, and a neutrality within yourself. And it's so complete. That there's nothing missing. You feel something that you've read about, that you've heard about, that you imagined was possible. And it just becomes so compelling. Fulfillment. And in this place and from this place, you're still a human being. You're still going through things. There's still a world outside of your door waiting for you. But now, for the first time ever, it just doesn't matter that there is. In fact, when you experience and observe who and what you are, the only sentiment, the only expression that you now have toward yourself and about yourself is this harmony, this neutrality. In fact, your relationship with yourself is now neutral. Seated where you are or laying down, you recognize that in the presence of this neutrality, you now begin to notice something that you couldn't allow yourself to receive while you were still reacting to being you. This amazing sense, this knowing, that life is just unfolding all around you. That even this experience that you call being yourself is unfolding. However, now, even though nothing's changed, everything is different. Because you're experiencing it all as the soul. For the first time ever, this inner reality, this inner truth, has become more compelling than anything that could ever arise within you, any emotion, any feeling, any thought, anything in the body. It's become more compelling than your interactions with others. And it's become more compelling than the maturation of your fellow human beings. With your every breath, you effortlessly return to this neutrality. And the more you do, the more natural, the more authentic you allow yourself to be. And after a while you realize that this whole human thing isn't really supposed to be a big deal. That we can just meet every experience that we're having from this place of equanimity and harmony. And in doing so, we live with an absence of need. Your happening, Other people around you are happening. Life is happening. And for the first time ever, it doesn't matter that it is. Now you meet everything with a smile. You meet everything with your heart. You meet everything with a knowing. All is well. All is well. All is well. Yay. Take some breaths, buckaroos. Welcome to the ranks of the boring, the neutral, the harmonious, the natural. So hopefully I've allayed your fears that you've malfunctioned. And that you've now come to recognize actually that the sane response to everything is neutrality. And I get that it's not normal. And that normal people are going to make you being natural wrong. That they're going to get more upset about things than you are. But I have to tell you that it's taken billions of years, and of course only a split second, to finally allow this. How about we just live this way from now on? And I promise you, everything's still going to get done. It's just not going to matter anymore. So nothing's changed yet, everything's different. You're still you, you're still living your life. You're still going through everything you're going through. It's just that your relationship with yourself has completely shifted. Nothing's changed, yet everything's different. Today's Wednesday. At least it is in the part of the world where I'm from. I hope you have a neutral, epically awakened, boring Wednesday. I wish you boredom. And that you just allow yourself to come back to your breath, to come back to neutrality, to come back to harmony, and just to begin to realize that this whole human thing wasn't supposed to be this big deal in the first place. And if you're still not convinced about the power of boring, it's no accident that boring relationships are often the best relationships. Boring investments turn out to be the best investments. Boring jobs typically end up being the best jobs. Actually, the less you're involved in it, the more you can just let it be, the more you can just let it unfold, the more seemingly it works out. Send you all a big hug. Impact folks, I think there's a call today, semi-private. And if you're on YouTube, spread this far and wide. Today's word to type in the chat is boring. Just let people know that you haven't malfunctioned. You've just become natural. You just can't get worked up about the impermanence of things anymore. You'd much rather live from the truth of yourself. Send you all a big hug. All right, you beautiful humans. And in the event that you forget what awakened is supposed to look like, just go to your local bookstore, go in the non-dual section, just look at the pictures of the people on the back of the books. You're in good company. Boring, every last one of them. Uneventful. I love you all very much. Thanks for being with me today. Send you all a big hug. Take care. Live long and prosper. Bye, everyone.